This is the Creative Market Free Goods Roundup for the week of August 18th, 2014. There's 6 different free goods this week, and all of them are free this week only, so if any of these look like something you want to pick up, be sure to check out the description, where I'll place links to each one of these 6 different free items. I'm going to start at the top here with Presto Vintage Photoshop Action. I have Photoshop open here, which is what you'll need for this action to work, and I've actually sized this document 3000 by 3000 pixels, as the instructions say this works best for large documents. And on the top here I have this logo set up on its own layer, and it's a vector object, and the actual action, once you install it, is in a folder called Doug Pennick, and the actual action is called Presto Vintage. So I'll go ahead and run this action. It takes a little bit for it to complete, but once it's done we can kind of check out the difference from the before and after. And as you can see, it very quickly went through and gave a really cool texture to this logo here. So if I zoom in, you can see on the inside larger sections here, it did a nice job of a pretty subtle texture that I think actually works really well inside here. And on the actual edges, it does a neat job of roughening them up. I think it's a pretty cool effect. Like on the top here in the established part, you can tell it was too small for the texture to get in the middle, but it did go around and roughen up these edges really nicely. So this action worked really fast. It's super easy to run. You just hit the button and it goes. And also something to note with this, it doesn't destroy your original artwork, so it created a new layer on top. If we go back to this Vector Smart object, it's still here untouched. So that's always a big plus. We don't have to worry about destroying your original design elements. So this is a very cool action. I suggest you check it out if you want to very quickly add some texture to whatever you're working on. And next up is Hipster Set 03. The provided format is a TIFF file, so I have Photoshop open to show this, but you should be able to use this in any program that can read a TIFF. And this is an absolutely huge image. If I look at the size, it's 3928 by 2769 pixels. And if I zoom in really close here, you can see that the actual quality at 100% is very crisp and clean. This is a fantastic photo. And it is worth noting that this is a photo. These aren't individual elements that you can quickly pick up and move around. This is a set photo, so do keep that in mind. You could, of course, overlay custom graphics on some of these different elements. Like the book, you could put a title on there, something like that. If you wanted to individually use items like just this book right here or just these eyeglasses, you'd have to mask them out in order to do that. So do keep that in mind. But overall, once again, if you look really close here at 100%, this is a very, very high quality photo, and this would work fantastically for a hero image on a website or a blog, something like that. It's a really nice image, and if you think you'll have use for it, definitely pick this one up. And next we have Ponderous, which is a font. I have this font open in Illustrator since that's a really easy way to quickly show it. And as you can tell, it's a really nice bold display font, so I'm going to zoom in a little bit on this so we can kind of take a look at these individual letters. It has a really cool hand-drawn look to it, which I think overall gives me the impression of almost like a 1940s cartoon, kind of really stampy text. I really do quite enjoy this font, and it has all the special characters that you'd expect. And also something to kind of note on this, if I type here a lowercase and then an uppercase letter, you can tell that these almost look the same, but if I zoom in on these A's, they're slightly different. So the lowercase and uppercase letters will actually provide different variations for all these different letters, which is a pretty huge hidden bonus. If you want to make this feel even more hand-drawn, you can alternate between lowercase and uppercase to kind of make sure that each letter looks unique. And I always enjoy when there's little details like that that make it a little bit more special. So overall, this is a really great font, and once again, keep in mind that you can alternate between uppercase and lowercase letters to get slightly different variations of these letters to make your type look just that little bit more hand-drawn. And if you think you might have use for this font, I would definitely recommend picking it up and kind of playing around with it. It's definitely a really cool one. And these bottom 3 goods are free on Facebook, so to get them, just hit this free on Facebook button and like Creative Market. And once you do that, a download link will appear. It's super fast and easy to do. So I'm going to start on the left here with Easy Collab Pro Curves. This is a set of curves presets for Adobe Photoshop, so you will need Adobe Photoshop to use these, and there's 22 different ones. And to bring up curves in Photoshop, you just hit Control-M on a PC or Command-M on a Mac. And once you do that, on the top right here, there's a preset bar that says Default by Default. And there's instructions of how to install these curves into your Photoshop presets folder in the actual download, so do that before you get to this step. But once you have done that, go to Preset, and then I'm going to start at the top here and kind of go through them and take a quick look at them. I'm just going to arrow down. If you see me very quickly skip through them, it's because they're the curves that are already built into Photoshop. But there's a pretty darn nice selection of different curves presets here, and I really like this being in curves instead of an action because it's actually super fast. It's a little bit quicker than having to run an action on a particular image to get the effect. And some of these effects are really nice. Like this one's called So 60s, which kind of has a vintage, almost Polaroid look to it. This one's called Denim, that has a really fantastic effect, kind of washes it in this really light red color. If I turn off the preview, you can kind of see the original to the new one right here. This one's called Fashion Victim, which does a fantastic job on really punching up these colors here. This one's called Havana Nights, a really nice vintage look on this. Sahara Dry is one of my favorites. If you see the before and after, it's really subtle, but has a really nice effect on it. This one's called Stone Wash. And here's a few different mixed process ones that very subtly affect the colors here. For if you're just generally tweaking photos, trying to get the coloration a little bit different. Really vintagey look there in Tobacco Blue. This one's called Punch Out. Stone Dry. This one's called The Blues. Tobacco has also a very kind of interesting vintagey effect on it. And this one's called Ubertoned and Undertoned. So there's a pretty nice selection of different curves to select from here, and like I said before, it's really nice how quick and easy these are to run. You don't have to hit the play button on action and wait for it to run. These are just all built in. You can very quickly cycle through them and kind of pick out ones that you think work for your photos best. So if you have any photos that you need to tweak and you think that this might be an interesting effect for them, definitely pick this one up. And next we have Watercolor Background with Wings. I have Adobe Illustrator open here to show these, and these are provided in EPS as well as JPEG format, and these are vector, so you can scale them as big or as small as you want without losing quality. And it's a nice collection of vector wings with watercolor backgrounds, and the overall style is that of a watercolor, so if I zoom in here, you can see that it does a nice job of pulling off the overall watercolor look in vector format, which is not always an easy task. And there's 6 of them to choose from, so I'm just going to kind of go through these really quick. And some of these have a really fantastic style, like I particularly like this set of wings. It has a nice slightly abstract look while still maintaining the actual wing look. And the actual wings are grouped on their own, so you can go ahead and kind of maneuver these around however you want to suit your projects best. And here's a wing element that looks really good. Once again, nice and abstract while still maintaining that wing look. And here's a couple more wings. If I zoom in a little bit, you can see how they actually built up this watercolor look using the vector format with a bunch of different color layering going on right here. And here's the next set, a little bit darker. I really actually like this color combination. It's working pretty well, and this is once again pulling off. Once you zoom out a little bit, it does a really good job of actually giving the appearance of a watercolor effect. And here's the final set of wings. Once again, it's in a darker color, and it does a really nice job of pulling off the overall watercolor transition from the darks to the lights here. So this is a pretty neat pack, and I like that they actually did this in vector, which is a little bit of a harder path to take. I think this set of wings is my favorite, and this background element is actually super cool as well. So if you think you'll have any use for these wings, definitely check out this pack. And last but not least, we have Wreaths Shapes Volume 2. I have Illustrator open here to show these wreath shapes, and there's 24 different ones to pick from, and the formats included are AI, EPS, as well as PSD. And if I zoom in a little bit on these, you can tell that the actual line quality is really nicely done. Everything looks very crisp and clean, so that time was definitely taken on all these to produce a really nice end result here. And there's a really nice diverse set of looks from reeds like this to actual leaves and flowers like hibiscus flowers. And that's pretty uncommon. I haven't seen stuff like that before personally, so I think these are really cool in that aspect. And this is the first of 2 pages, so I'm going to check out the second page here. And as you can see, this is a really nice diverse set with a bunch of different options to choose from that aren't just subtle tweaks, but they're pretty vast differences. So I really like the fact that with this one pack you get a whole bunch of different options that all feel quite a bit different while still maintaining a nice consistency throughout them all. So I really enjoyed this pack, and I definitely think I'll probably be using some of these in some of my own projects in the future, as I think they have a really fantastic look while being a bit more uncommon and a bit more unique, which I really enjoy. So it's definitely a cool pack that I'd suggest you check out. So that's it for this week's free goods, and remember, these goods are free this week only, so if any of these look like something you might want to use, be sure to download them. And as always, if you like these videos, please like and favorite, and if you want to see more great content like this, please subscribe. These videos are released every Monday to let you know what's new and free at Creative Market. Thanks for watching.